as I'm sure most of you have probably heard by this point, or maybe not, because by the time this clip comes out, they could have, yanked this from the headlines for reasons we'll get into in a moment. On Sunday, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and his family had to be evacuated from the governor's mansion because at roughly 2 a.m., a guy hopped the fence, smashed the windows with a sledgehammer, and threw 2 Molotov cocktails into the residence that caused a massive blaze. This is the post he shared. They woke up to bangs on the door from Pennsylvania State Police after an arsonist set fire to the governor's residence in Harrisburg. He thanked the first responders. No one was injured. The fire was extinguished, but there was extensive damage. I believe our next slide shows some of the damage there. This is a historic building that's been there for a long time. Valuable things were damaged and destroyed, and it's terrible. I mean, somebody tried to kill the governor of Pennsylvania, and we've knocked Josh Shapiro pretty hard on the show for other things that I'm sure Rob will touch on in a moment. But this was, all over the news over the weekend. With good reason. It's not very often a governor gets firebombed in his own house. Yeah. But there are things coming out about this that might make it disappear pretty quickly, and you will no longer hear about it quite as much. This is a statement Josh Shapiro made the following day. He said, "We do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motives yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society, and I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It's not okay, and it has to stop." So then I believe it was on Monday, they caught the guy. His photo is up next. This is Cody Allen Balmer.
Wow. That guy looks freaking healthy.
He looks like a meth addict.
Yeah. He looks like he's in bad shape.
He is apparently some kind of unmedicated schizophrenic or other.
Oh my God, that's him?
This was him getting walked into the courtroom. He made sure to flash a couple faces at the cameras to let us know how truly unstable he is. He turned himself in after he ran away from the scene. He called an ex-girlfriend and confessed to her, and then he called police like 12 hours later, turned himself in. He's been charged with a bunch of different crimes, has been denied bail, and will be held, obviously, for an act of terrorism against an elected official. But here's where the narrative starts to get a little wonky, and where I want to hear from you guys. Because every time something like this happens, there's this big rush from both political sides to attribute the violence to the other side.
Yeah, who they vote for.
Yeah. Everyone wants to know, who'd this guy vote for? What has he posted on social media? So here's the ABC News headline. A mechanic who had previously expressed disdain for Democrats was arrested in connection with the fire early Sunday at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence.
So that's kind of hinting that he's if I read that
implies
he's a Republican.
It implies this is some MAGA-hatted Republican who hates Democrats, hates Joe Biden, and wanted to see Democrats burn.
Well, and for someone who knows how to read the news, to me that translates into we found so little evidence that he was actually critical of Democrats that we have to qualify it in such a washy manner that he previously expressed disdain. You know who else expressed disdain for Democrats previously? AOC, Bernie Sanders. So I know that it's someone from the far left, I suspect, but that's a whitewash of a description.
Course.
Yeah. So people did a deep dive of some of his social media pages and found this. Photos of him pointing guns at the camera, cross-stitching with "Be the light you want to see in the world" and Molotov cocktails, a bit of foreshadowing there. Stuff about how Biden supporters shouldn't exist and R.I.P. Joe Biden. But other social media posts included knowing is half the battle and the other half is extreme violence. He talked about multiple times how he identified as a socialist. Let's see. What else? He claimed he was a registered socialist. He didn't vote in 2024. He said all sorts of stuff against Donald Trump, blaming him for high gas prices. He said
it makes his Molotov cocktails cost more money.
Yeah, exactly.
How
dare you?
Too soon.
He drained the gasoline out of his lawnmower and put them in Heineken bottles. So this isn't some high-tech operator here.
There goes his lawn.
He voiced support for Black Lives Matter. He was in favor of wearing masks during COVID.
He's nuts.
He shared multiple left-wing anti-capitalist posts on his Facebook. He just repeatedly attacked Trump and Biden. And this is where it really becomes clear that this guy is just nuts. He's not any particular political party. He doesn't belong to one side or the other.
Just good old-fashioned
just
crazy.
insane.
Any religious element to this? Because
No
when
religious
I
element,
first saw
it
the
seems.
picture, one can come to certain conclusions. It's Josh Shapiro, who's a prominent Jewish
Governor.
politician.
Well, that gets into my next point, actually, what I wanted to discuss about this, because this is a lot of the kind of chickens coming home to roost on the left for a change, because over the past couple months, they have completely normalized acts of violence and arson targeting political opponents. How many Teslas have been vandalized? How many Tesla dealerships have been burned down? How many things have been firebombed and blown up? Somebody blew up a Cybertruck in front of a Trump hotel.
Well, look at Vinny's point earlier about who the left has now idolized. It's Luigi Mangione and
Carmelo
Anthony.
and a black guy that stabbed Austin Metcalf in cold blood.
They have normalized terrorism.
What do you mean? And on not to cut you off, college campuses, it's the Democrat. That's your schools and all Harvard and all you guys. That's all them. And they're harassing and beating. And then they had the Mahmoud Khalil, whatever the fuck. Bro, a guy with a green card here causing fucking riots against Jewish people and threatening them and making them feel unsafe. And this is all the, bro, the left is the party of, they try to make it seem like it's the other side. It's them. It's them.
I talk about this quite often with Barnes during our Sunday show, but it's the political permission slip. The Democrats have given the political permission slip for violence, and the Democrats, like the idiots that they are, think it's only going to be relegated to their political rivals. But at some point, you sleep with dogs, you'll get ticks, but the dogs are going to bite you as well because they don't, especially the wild ones. And when you court the presence of wild terrorists and say violence is resistance, punch a Nazi. Well, one day they're going to look at you and say, "Hey, Josh Shapiro, you're the Nazi
Remember
today.
what they
Let's
said
go burn your
during
place down."
the BLM riots when people were looting Targets and burning down local stores and everything? They said destruction of property is not violence. It's a legitimate act of protest.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, Josh Shapiro and his family weren't harmed, so was this a legitimate act of protest by Democrat standards?
This is not normalizing or making it okay or whatever. This is part of the playbook since the inception of communism, all right? People love in ads like, oh, this is going to revolutionize the new revolution of your 3G wireless network, all right?
Yeah.
Revolution, that's what it is. It's a violent insurrection to change the government, hopefully to have a communist regime run the place. And this is part of the playbook. This is part of Das Capital. Like, this is nothing new. We've just been able to, slow it down a little bit here in the States. But this is the ultimate goal. Anything that they don't like, they will kill, firebomb, imprison, and put in coma.
You remember, and ironically enough, after the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, people were making jokes. Oh, if only the bullet had been an inch to the left.
Yeah.
Oh, crooks.
Oh, of
Hey, well,
course.
if only that Molotov cocktail had been in the right room, they will say. So, they've courted this violence. They've welcomed this demon into their house, and now it's there to stay, and it doesn't remain happy only targeting the ideological rivals.
But here's how they're dodging around it. This was the other half of Josh Shapiro's statement. Before they knew a motive, before they had released the guy's name, before they had given out any details following his arrest, he stood out in front of the ruins of the governor's residence and said, "If he was trying to terrorize our family, our friends, the Jewish community who joined us for a Passover Seder in that room last night, hear me on this. We celebrated our faith last night proudly, and in a few hours we will celebrate our second Seder of Passover." The way they get around the accusation of Democrats normalizing political terrorism is by taking the anti-Semitism argument. Whatever this guy's motives were, and it might just be because he was nuts, and there was also an issue with his house being foreclosed on, and he seemed to have blamed Josh Shapiro for raising property taxes.
Because he's a Jew.
They said,
How does it go automatically to anti-Semitism? It's less than 24 hours after the house gets burned down, and he's out there already going, well, it's because you're attacking me because of my faith?
And what he's saying is, we don't know if it was anti-Semitism, but if it was, here's what I'd say. And he launches into a 25-minute speech about it.
Because when you say that, we don't know, but if it was, that's you saying it was in his opinion.
Well, if anybody's doing the anti-Semitism, it's that party.
Yeah, well,
it's the fucking Democratic Party.
That's how you
go
dodge.
fuck yourself.
That's how you dodge around it. You can't.
Unbelievable.
You can't say it's good for you to burn down a Tesla dealership, but bad to firebomb the governor of Pennsylvania for Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania governor.
Yeah.
Can we bring
Yeah.
up the picture again of the guy? Not necessarily the
Can you go
tongue
back,
sticking
Danny?
out. The one with the beard. And it's not.
One more back.
One more back.
Look, it's you have these you have your first reactions where. Knowing that this all came out at the time where it was revealed he supported BLM. BLM was quite vocally supporting October 7, using the parachute guy as an avatar. So, I look at this and say, all right, is he a recent convert to a movement that might want to firebomb a prominent Jew defender of Israel's residents? The thought crossed my mind. It's not the first place where I go, but
You can't rule it out.
Sorry?
You
I mean,
can't
it's also
rule it
on
out.
It was also on one of the most prominent Jewish holidays.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that far-reaching to think.
No,
I'm not trying to say it is. I'm not saying dismiss the
I
anti-Semitism.
will. I'll say it is. Yes, maybe it happened on that date. The guy's clearly insane. Look at the guy.
The
Go
guy's-
back
the
to
guy's
photos of that
batshit-
guy.
he's
that guy
batshit
doesn't
crazy.
look that way. You don't go to a Chase Bank and see a teller standing behind the counter that looks like that guy. The guy's clearly unhinged. Whether or not it has anything to do with Judaism, it's a huge stretch to come out and in the first statement go, "Are you attacking my people?" No, I'm being attacked. It could be multiple things. Mostly because you're the governor of the state that the guy lives in.
That his house was foreclosed on, one, and the fact that the amount of shit that I saw him, dude, his social media presence, I didn't see any swastikas. I didn't say anything anti-Jew. I think it was just, I hate the governor. I'm a loser with a freaking gun. And I think, what is it, Biden? Bro, this guy was all over the spectrum. He hated Biden. He didn't think Biden, bro, Biden supporters should exist, meaning they should all be dead. Okay, let's not read between the lines. That's what that says. R.I.P. Joe Biden. Whoops, that's in May. Not my president. He hates Trump. He hates Biden. He hates everybody. And if you think in your deluded, crazy-ass mind that the governor is responsible for your shitty life and for your shitty house that got foreclosed, you're just batshit crazy. He's crazy.
The issue is the identity politics game plays because whenever it happens to someone who is a member of any religious, ethnic identity, it's the first place you go. When Nancy Pelosi's husband was hammered, nobody went, oh, it's an act of anti-Semitism because he's not Jewish. Nobody says it's an act of racism because he's not black. Nobody says it's
it was an act of gay sex.
No,
Allegedly.
I guess allegedly, but that's what everybody
That's what everybody
came out
thought on
and
the
said.
internet
Oh,
first.
No, then you watch the body cam footage of that. I don't know if any of you guys.
Oh
know.
yeah,
very weird.
it was
And
weird.
It's weird, but it also does not look like a gay lovers quarrel. It looks like an old man getting hit in the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
And it was very alarming. But
Can you
again,
see
that
the lot
guy
of
was a
gay
radical
lover
leftist.
quarrels?
But
the
that's the
point
issue.
Is, Paul Pelosi didn't come out and go, "I was attacked because I'm a Christian."
No,
and if you
an
think this is
Italian,
gonna
an
stop,
Italian.
whatever
I
the
don't know if
case
he's
may
Italian.
be, that identity politics of, well, I identify as this and I'm being attacked by that is so played out. You cannot use that for everything. Maybe there's just batshit crazy people out there and they don't like you not because of your race or because of your religion or because of your sex, because they're crazy.
Yeah. People forgot that there are whatever happened to just that? Like, why did you do this? Who did you vote for? No. I'm just nuts. I am bro, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is the photos of this guy. And I saw the photos of him with, I don't know if it was his girl. There was like 5 or 6
He's
kids.
apparently got like 6 kids with several different women, keeping with the
That
theme
guy?
of terrible fathers.
That
That guy
has a
had
bunch-
sex with multiple women. He's had,
Girls love crazy.
The girl looked. I mean, I don't want to judge, but it looked. Everybody meets their simpatico partner in life. Bottom line, the dude is. You have your initial thoughts. It could have not been Passover. It would have been. Someone would have jumped to the anti-Semitism accusation, as if anything that you say or do against Josh Shapiro because he's Jewish is because he's Jewish and not because he's a shitty, corrupt POS of a governor.
Who may have helped cover up a murder.
Who
allegedly.
may
yeah,
have, maybe that's the motive. And I love this. It's been less than 5 days. Everybody wants to be a freaking judge and jury. Nobody knows. Maybe it was because of that girl. Maybe it was because he said a speech once and he said something he didn't like. Nobody knows. It's just the guy's batshit crazy. Thank God he's alive and his family is alive. I do think it's weird to be like, hey, listen, I don't think it was because of anti-Semitism, but if it was, this is how I respond. How about just don't say nothing? How about just be grateful that you're alive? Great post saying, listen, I don't give a shit if you're left or if you're right. Anything that has to do with violence should stop. But Josh Shapiro, tell that to your party, okay? Tell that to your party, who is fine with students getting fucking abused and attacked on freaking college campuses because they're Jewish. Where's the Where's the outcry? That's your party.
Shapiro's name is getting thrown around as a possible presidential contender.
Of course, and
for
it was back then
2028.
too.
Think about what that implies. If this moment does not cause him to say we need to condemn political violence within our own party,
Of course.
if he just glosses over that and says, no, it must have been anti-Semitism, that could be the only possible explanation, and does not condemn people who are targeting conservatives and Republicans, then this guy could potentially make a run for the White House with that philosophy behind him.
Well, now that you bring up that element, this does strike me as being like throwing the brick through your own window so that you can raise funds up.
Like House
I'm
of
not
Cards?
suggesting
House of
anything.
Cards?
You know, I'm just saying. You know, it's a very interesting thing. He's now a victim of domestic terrorism. Undoubtedly, will use this if he does make a run for president. So in the long term, it'll play well. But look, jokes aside, nobody
Will it play
rational needs to
well?
be told violence is bad.
Will it play well, though? Whether he's Jewish or not doesn't matter to me. The identity politics, I don't think, work anymore. I think we're at the point where you look at what happened in 2024. They talk about the red wave. Every swing state was won. It wasn't won on identity politics. Trump didn't come out and go and play to a small minority. Trump played to what the people wanted. And I think we're finally getting a taste of what we wanted being played out in real time by a government that we had finally elected. I don't think there's any going back to the, well, I'm a woman of color. Well, I'm a man of this sexual orientation. Well, I'm a victim of this, so you should vote for me. I think it's what you stand for, the promises that you're going to make, and then how you deliver on those promises is what matters.
I agree with you. It's a bad strategy, but I do think that it's still the strategy that the Democrats are doubling and tripling down on. They haven't moved away from it. They haven't moved away from identity politics. They haven't moved away from bad political strategy. They're still defending literal gang members, rapists, and murderers for whatever the hell the reason. It will hurt them in the long run. But he'll play the card. He'll certainly play this up. You know, it'll be his Butler moment if he ever decides to run for president. But bottom line, no rational person needs to be told that violence is bad. The only problem is this party has whipped up a bunch of mentally ill people who they thought would never target them, and that chicken will come home to roost.
Yeah, and
Highly anti-Semitic. Remember, he was announced as VP, and then they decided to go with Waltz. Remember, they asked.
That's their party.
Philadelphia mayor released
It
a
wasn't
video.
really an announcement. It's not clear if that was a leak or manipulation. But yes, the
leak of manipulation, but then they didn't want the Jewish guy to run for vice president.
Because
He
you
would have
saw
been.
the- you
He
saw
would have
the-
helped them immensely.
he would have
but
been
you-
better than Waltz.
But you think? Tampon Tim?
Yeah, they want to play both sides. You know, it's the same thing: violence over violence over violence. You
Well,
know, like,
and just
just
because
when it's convenient to be on one side or the other side, it's
and
bullshit.
and can we just really fast? 'Cause I want to move on to you, right? Like literally 30 seconds. What kind of security do you have at the governor's mansion where some psycho could just jump the fence and get close to your house? I would. By the way, I'm pretty sure he's not broke. The security, the fencing has to be way more secure. That type of shit can't happen.
Now,
That's
according to the
unacceptable.
police reports, they knew about the breach the second he jumped the fence, but nobody was able to respond until he was at the windows throwing the Molotovs.
Nah, I want-
Which that is the other weird part of this. Like, how porous is the governor's security?
Yeah, you're the
that a guy can
governor.
get up to their house.
Yeah, I would think that there would at least be on-site security that would
Fast,
intervene
Rob.
in between hopping the fence and getting to the
That's-
home. And I get that it may only be a couple of 100 yards for you to
I don't
sprint.
give a shit.
But if the cops are alerted that somebody's breaking in and breaching the
Yeah.
security, then you would think that there would be security on site that would also be alerted
A
to
patrol,
respond.
Rob. A patrol, just a guy
Wait,
that
we
walks
have
around.
security
We have
here.
a security here. What do you mean? Out in the military, bro? If we just at a base and there's just people circling. That's shitty security. I hope they fix that out. But
Same shitty security with Paul Pelosi. I mean, how the hell did that
same
happen?
shitty security with Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. And fucking weird. Pennsylvania has shitty security. Isn't that fucking weird? So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.